Hello and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Podcast Network on this Saturday, June 14th. We're going to finish off our show today by talking about a sport that we really don't normally talk about, but I'm a fan of it and I picked today's show, so we're going to go and talk about some soccer today in the FIFA Club World Cup that's kicking off tonight in Miami, Inter Miami taking on Ahli from Saudi Arabia. This is an interesting tournament, just so ever, and I just kind of want to set the scene for a minute too. When you're looking and taking a closer look at this supposed best of the best tournament of the world's best club soccer or football teams, 32 sides, but of those 32 sides, only 8 of them are reigning domestic champions. The most recent title winners from England, from Italy, from Spain, so 3 of the top 5 European leagues, from Portugal, from Argentina, from Japan, from the MLS. All of those champions are not included in this tournament. Of the 6 continental champions, only 3 of those teams are included in this tournament. And part of it's due to kind of a crazy qualifying process that has occurred over a period of 3 to 4 years. You take a team like the Urawa Red Diamonds playing in Japan's J League. Yes, we are getting obscure today in our last segment on the GSMC Sports Podcast. But so take the Urawa Red Diamonds, right? They win the 2022 Asian Champions League, but they kind of were lucky to be able to get that far. They had really solid draws and were able to scrap their way through the semifinal, win the final on penalties, and since then, they haven't really done anything else. The last time they won their actual domestic league was in 2006. Their highest league finish since 2016 was 4th place. So this is a team that they're nowhere near the top 32 teams in the world in terms of football, yet they're included in this Club World Cup. Rob, do you think this is just the FIFA trying to force this tournament on the U.S. market? Do you think they're just trying, is it a money grab? What do you kind of think is going on here with the Club World Cup? And first of all, did you even know that the Club World Cup was starting today? Because I think that also plays a factor in it. So first, I want you to answer that question.
You've called me out not once, but twice.
I'm not just saying it because of you. I'm not just saying it. I'm just saying everybody across. I think it goes to the general point that this event just wasn't marketed, right? Like, besides me and, some of the other real in-depth people, there's not a lot of casual American sports fans that know that this event is even going on right now. And probably, honestly, in cities that are near some of these people, too. I just think it's kind of crazy that it's supposedly, best of the best. What do you kind of think about the whole thing?
I mean, I saw it marketed for the first time about 2 weeks ago. I won't lie. I haven't seen
but
it.
Isn't that crazy? Don't you think?
It's pretty crazy. Usually when you see World Cup news, you see it months. Similar to like Olympics, you see it months in advance. And it feels like, you know what this feels like? I don't know if they have this anymore. I haven't watched soccer in a long time. I think they still have this for like National League soccer. But I'm pretty sure, do they still have the Confederations Cup for club soccer? Is that still a thing, Jake? Or did they take that away?
Yes, there's something kind of similar, but yeah.
Okay. This reminds me just like that. You take champions of different leagues, or you could say it's Champions League, but in a way, this is during the summertime. Champions League happens in the winter. It happens between January, February, March, April. The winter colder months, the spring is when it usually happens. Summer is usually when players take it off. And there's a reason where you see NFL take it off, NBA, NHL take all the summer months off. Why? Because this is their time to take a break. The only sport that you see that plays in the summertime is baseball. And why? Because it's a perfect time. That's where they get their marketing to come from in the summertime. They get a bunch of marketing in the summertime. When I'm looking at soccer, I think they're definitely trying to force this a little bit with the MLS, especially with Lionel Messi joining the Inter Miami. We're going to see him later tonight. But I think they're trying to get the U.S. into it. I think that was a great point that you brought up, that they're trying to get the U.S. into the soccer market and get the MLS, try to start attracting some of these big name players in Europe into the MLS. I think they're still going to want to go to the Real Madrids and the Bayern Munichs and the Juventus. They still want to go to the big leagues of soccer and of club soccer, because that's not only where the money is, that's where the competition is. And that's where a lot of these guys are very competitive. But if the MLS is to join that, not only would it be an amazing market, it's an untapped market in the US, but it would make Champions League that much more interesting. So I think those are two factors why they're trying to push this in the US, especially with this being on US soil in Los Angeles, around the US in general. I think this is a phenomenal move for FIFA. I'm going to pull the curtain back to your original question, though. I originally wanted to talk a little bit about the Red Sox-Yankees series. That's what we were kind of going back and forth. But my man Jake is the host of the show. We roll with him, so
well, I did already have the segment title typed in too, so we weren't trying to do some quick editing here on the fly. But the good news is we got another show tomorrow, so there's always more sports to talk about.
There's always more sports.
You did bring up a really good point, though, where you're talking about this season, and these players in the Club World Cup are exhausted. You look at the soccer season, the calendar is ridiculous already, going pretty much from August to the Champions League final was 2 weeks ago, just 14 days ago. You have a season that runs from August to the end of May, and then you're going to add another tournament that the importance is kind of debated. Does this even really matter that much? You're going to add another tournament during their off-season, during that limited off-season already. It just doesn't really make sense to me, where these players, they're all tired. Probably a lot of them are wondering why they even have to play in this thing. Why do they have to go to the United States to play in this tournament? There's a lot of exhaustion physically, mentally. I just wonder, was the Club World Cup and kind of expanding it to this big stage, did it even kind of make sense to do? I think there's a lot of negative downsides. And another thing that we've seen is that these events have not sold out. There's been a lot of issues with ticketing here. And part of that was because the officials for FIFA in Miami, they all said, hey, let's use smaller MLS venues, which is what they're doing in cities like Nashville, in cities like Cincinnati. But then you also see matchups in MetLife Stadium, in Hard Rock. You have a Brazilian and an African side playing in Hard Rock Stadium, the home of the Miami Dolphins, where they can hold 65,000 to 70,000 people. They're not going to sell out that place, and they're not going to be anywhere near close to it. So it just doesn't really make sense to me that you're kind of really pushing it. I don't know what the upside is here. I think you're right on. They're trying to tap into that U.S. market. I don't know. It's still going to be an interesting competition. We're still going to see Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, some of these great European clubs of soccer. We're still going to get to see them on American soil in a tournament that matters more so than when they come to the U.S. normally. But with that, we are going to end our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Sports Podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jake Daly, alongside my co-host and good friend, Mayra Fatemi. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great night.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to